Hi, I'm Neil Druckmann, and I was the director and co-writer.
Hi, my name is Hallie Gross, and I was the co-writer and narrative lead.
I'm Ashley Johnson, and I play Ellie.
Hi, I'm Troy Baker, and I played Joel.
This whole scene came about because we were trying to figure out how do we recap the previous game just enough for people that haven't played it, or might not have been so many years they don't even remember it. So we thought, Joel could confess to Tommy.
And this was, I don't know why I dug my heels in, and I was like, I do not agree with this. And I had such a problem with it because I felt like this was a secret that Joel was going to take to his grave, and he would just bear this sin. And it wasn't until we were on set, and I'm sitting across from Jeffrey, and I'm watching him just listen to Joel. And every take, we went deeper and got better, and more truth came out.
It's really small, but you're right, it's really powerful and intimate of this exchange between these brothers, of just how far they've come since he's rejoined Jackson.
Yeah. It's become one of my favorite scenes. The meticulousness of this task of fixing up a guitar. And I remember you saying specifically is like, you're really trying to get the grime out. And to me, how that mapped to what he's trying to do in this scene with this conversation is I'm just trying to get every last bit of dirt out.
In the original game, we didn't cut to a close-up of Joel and seeing like what was his emotional state coming into that operating room.
That look from Tommy.
What do you do?
I love this right here. I saved her. And we wanted some darkness around that statement of like, the implication is I did whatever I needed to do to get her out of there.
And the justification, that comes from that.
That is the central question, right? And I think that opening the game on that line is so important because Joel really does believe he saved her. And that's the question for Ellie throughout the game of, did he?
I remember just so much work we did on this soundscape right here of just leaving you with that kind of uncomfortable feeling of it was a good thing, but there was definitely a lot of darkness around it. It's a great scene for Tommy as well. And now he has to carry the weight of this thing that his brother did.
God damn.
Right now he's not feeling great about it.
That's so. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
He's also a family guy, so on some level he gets it.
What does Ellie know?
And he gets obviously he knows what Joel has been through and why that decision was so important for him.
I told her they just ran some tests.
There's something to me that hits me every time when Ellie rolls over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I caught it as much. I think I was aware of it. Like, Neil, you being a parent, you're more familiar with some of those gestures than I was, or I am now. Traveler will do this, where he will, when I put him to bed or whatever, and he's ready to go to sleep, or he needs to be alone with his own thoughts, he'll do that turn. And it never really hit me that that's what Ellie is doing, is just, okay, I'm done talking about this now. I just kind of want to be private in my own thoughts.
Which is also an interesting juxtaposition that's happening here, is we're getting to see the moment he was lying to her while he's confessing the truth to his brother. And the differences in those two relationships now. And it's, despite how much they've been through and how much Ellie has become an equal of sorts, he still sees her as his child. And if he has to lie to her to protect her, he will. It was important to get this final handoff of playing as Joel one last time as this beautiful sunset ride towards Jackson before we fully kind of hand off the baton to Ellie. We worked so hard on these transitions to go from cutscene to gameplay. And it was just a change in tech that we had from the first game to the second game, where the first game, all the cinematics were pre-rendered. Now that they were real time, there was a lot of effort put into just these seamless transitions in and out of gameplay.
About what we were talking about earlier.
This is a great moment.
I can't say I'd have done different.
And you have to wonder, is Tommy telling the truth? Or does he know it's too late to do anything about it? And that's the best truth to put out there.
There's also something, it's just occurring to me now, but I think confessing to Tommy really speaks to sort of the themes of the game of how hard it is to be alone and to carry things alone. And even Joel can't do it at a certain point and needs to unload on Tommy. And so what it is for Ellie to isolate further and further and further and carry her secrets alone more and more and more.
There's her little house.
I discovered some people don't realize that her house is the
garage.
Exterior garage of Joel's house.
Look, she's drawing a deer. Oh, and you're hearing Sean James' song, which was the song we did for the teaser trailer.
Ellie?
Shout out to the environment team that had to build several different versions of this room, as Ellie has lived in it for longer and longer and got more and more of her items from the old world that she's obsessed with.
Lava lamp.
I love this moment of just like, hey, how do you...
Jesus.
Do you both remember when we did this scene live on stage, just for an audience of 100, 200 people? I forget exactly. Like Jeff Keighley set up this one night live, and I wrote the scene just for that. But in the back of my mind, I knew already this would be the opening for the second game.
Oh, yeah. And that was...
Talking about how impressed they are.
Some of that was streamed except for this scene. That
right,
was just for the audience.
We did not stream the scene.
There was this, I remember we got it, and then as often happens, there's a team of people that kind of come up to you, and after you go, cut, best that one, that's a take we can go with. And people just kind of clouded around you, and there was a conversation that was happening. We were trying to figure out what it was, and I saw you do your, everything's okay, it's fine. And then afterwards, you tell me this story that in Uncharted 3, the ship capsizing was one of the most resource-draining, almost game-breaking things that you guys had, one of the most ambitious set pieces you'd ever done. And then in the Left Behind DLC, the photo booth was one of the most resource-draining, almost game-breaking things. He goes, up until you decided to put your thumb in your belt loop.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so actually that's funny because you did that, Joel initially didn't have his shirt tucked in. But in order to honor, again, this little gesture that you did, redesigned his clothing. And the way we did clothing on this game is we actually sourced the actual material and scanned it. So we had to source the shirt, the pants, the belt, scan it, so we could do this one gesture that you did, which was like looping your thumb around your belt. Trust in you. Writing standpoint, this was a tricky scene because we have to reestablish these characters and their relationship, but also show there's something hanging over them. That there's, we had to honor the ending of the first game, that moment of of lie. That again, Ellie knows something is off, but she doesn't quite know how to deal with it or how to move past it. Right. So this scene has you see at the beginning, she's trying to get rid of him. And then he wins her over by playing the song, and she softens by the end of it. And it's interesting, they talk about you promised you would teach me how to play the guitar, and they're talking about promises and oaths and the idea of keeping your promises. And we know this lie is hanging over them.
I love this opportunity this song gives Ellie to watch him. Yeah. Without confrontation.
And again, there's so much beautiful acting that you're doing here, Ashley. I know these compliments are making you uncomfortable, but it's look how much she's processing. Yeah. You could see it. You could feel it. And again, talking about when characters make eye contact versus not is only when he finishes that he finally allows himself to look up.
Barely.
Barely right there.
It's a very intimate thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been more nervous
What I can get.
than I was in that scene playing that song.
Were you more or less nervous when you did it live?
For some reason, playing music live to me feels a little bit more at home. But also, I don't know if I fully understood what that song meant to you, Neil.
Mm.
And knowing what it was going to mean now to other people once they play the game. And now there was context to it. Now there was story.
First lesson?
They care about each other so much.
The lighting. Lighting is so gorgeous here. And this was the same pun we had when you
Yeah.
both did it live.
Do you remember the joke?
And you could see the shift in Joel. Like that song has just shifted the relationship a little bit. It moved the needle.
Mm-hmm. He's standing up a little taller.
It's time consuming.
I love how much he's just trying to reach out to her on her terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still got dad in
Giving
him.
her space.
Yeah.
Still got dad.
Yeah.
Good night, kiddo.
And this again, this writing is the same. It's like how this ended was the same as the live version, where you just play the low E. Well, I guess with the capo it wouldn't be an E, but boom, and just let this ominous note linger. Interesting parallel. In Last of Us Part 1, Joel wakes up after the multi-year jump
Was
to,
that
to a knock at the door.
Oh.
was that an accident?
No, that was by design.
Sorry, I totally overslept. Just give me a minute and I'll
Yeah, initially we had the whole dance and the kiss in the beginning. And then once we moved it to the end, we had to kind of, through exposition and dialogue, hint at what happened.
It was just Dina being Dina. It's just Dina being Dina.
I was talking about your fight with Seth. Wait, you kissed Dina?
I love that that scene kind of plays out like an awkward thing between them as if they had kissed last night, which is really funny.
Yeah.
You know, it has this like kind of morning after feel, but it's like not about them, which is really charming.
I would never. Yeah, that's true.
This is so Ashley awkwardness right here.
I love it.
Messing with you, man.
VV awkward. Like don't point, don't bring attention to something that I did, please.
It's kind of fucked up you did that.
Jesse's the coolest guy.
He
Look at him.
is.
He's like, he kissed his girl, and he's like, I'm
Excuse me.
oh, Seth.
There you are. Come here.
Oh, Seth.
Yeah, remember this scene was,
I don't want to hear what that big.
I mean, so much of the story is about forgiveness and letting go of stuff, and how Ellie specifically struggles with that, and this was a pretty minor example of that.
Seth, come here.
Turns out I really struggle with it because I still hate this scene. I'm like, fuck that guy.
I know,
He's
me
trying.
too.
Look at him. He's
Doesn't
he's
work.
a steak sandwich. He's trying so hard.
Look how he wrapped it with a bow.
The way he starts with like, look,
Aw.
I'm like, yo, look you.
Yeah, don't looky hear me. Let's just.
Oh, now it's her fault.
Great job.
Yeah, this scene makes me so mad. Hey, I'm trying to apologize, you little bitch. You're like, what?
Made you some sandwiches.
Okay.
They're steak.
Thank you, Seth.
Didn't we discuss cutting Baguette sandwich because people had such a hard time understanding it at first?
Yeah, they kept hearing bacon sandwich.
Bacon sandwich. Yeah.
Bigot sandwich was a.
Baguette sandwich.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
What you got there?
Baguette sandwiches.
Yeah. Yeah. Forgot about that.
Smells good.
Hallie, you wrote that, didn't you?
I don't know.
It just bigot sandwich feels
does
V
feel very
Hallie
Hallie.
to me.
We
Oh,
get
this
your
is
girlfriend at the stables, please.
Dina's big intro.
Oh, here she comes.
I'm Shannon Woodward. I play Dina. I had a really hard time hiding behind nothing here.
Well, that's the thing that's so hard about sometimes acting in these things is that you like the kids weren't there, and then we like
Yeah.
later captured kids and kind of constructed all the pieces.
Hey. This is a V me lean. I love to lean.
I just want to say sorry for running off last night. I actually really love this scene.
I totally get it. I felt bad.
I love the one-liners that you guys kind of riffed on when we were doing the combat stuff for the snowball fight.
Oh my god.
I still die laughing when I hear you guys insulting children.
And I think that was really, a lot of that was just my instinct.
Yeah. Your parents don't love you.
Yeah, and then I think eat snow, you
Eat
little
snow.
No, I think
Yes.
you little shits. Yeah. Because I think you were like eat snow, and then I said eat snow, you little shit. I think
God,
it's like
I love name calling children.
What the fuck? I'm not even playing.
Interesting parallel is Ellie doesn't want to do any of this until she gets hit with a snowball, and then it's like, let's make these motherfuckers pay. Which is, again, is a really lighthearted moment of what this whole story's about.
Better run, you little shits.
All of the horse acting was always very funny to me because how that works is you have somebody holding on to a rope and you're just kind of
Pulling it along.
pulling them around. And it would always make me laugh.
Fun fact, the guy in the stable there is Yuri, who plays Spider-Man in the Spider-Man Insomniac game.
That's Yuri?
And this was another big scene. Anytime we have a big scene like this, we can only have so many actors in the volume, so this is captured in pieces. And I remember, like, Troy played one of, like, the people kind of like, and they were improvising, talking crap in the background.
Yeah, and it's not there anymore. There was a bit where he said something kind of goading to me, and it's not there anymore. But then every take we did, I'd call him a new name that I thought was, like, embarrassing. I'd be like, listen, Chad.
You come back. Be smart about it.
Wait, I actually didn't know there's only a certain amount of people you can have in the volume?
Get going.
Yeah, just because we start losing data after a while, so to track all the little balls and stuff. It gets fuzzy. Like above 8, I think it just like gets more expensive, and you're more likely to be error prone, so it needs more cleanup.
Yeah. Laura Bailey, and I played Abby in The Last of Us Part 2.
Ominous. And here we have the introduction of this crew, the Salt Lake City crew.
There's Neil.
Self-insert. And here we have Laura Bailey waking up. This was a repeating motif from the first game of these characters that are haunted by some horrible trauma and can't sleep.
The lighting is really nice here. It's really nice everywhere.
We debated quite a bit of like how much do we want to reveal for this character when you're about to play as her, versus how much we want to hold off for like the second half of the game when you get to see more of her. Remember, we iterated a lot of how much snow he should have on him because he was just outside.
This is one of the audition scenes, I think.
What were you dreaming about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Was I talking?
You're doing here.
It's important to know that we did not want to cast you in this role.
I've heard tell that you did not.
Just because you're in so many things and you're so iconic. But you were the best. And once we saw your audition, there was no turning back.
What are you gonna do,
Trust me.
You painted us into a corner, Laura Bailey.
You're welcome.
This is the first real big choice this character makes, Abby, of do we turn back or does she choose justice?
We made it.
She's gonna end up choosing justice, just like Ellie does later many times.
Choosing obsession.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's a fucking city.
Yeah.
It's also important to note that, when you're acting in this, there's nothing there. You're in this blank white volume, and we're like, okay, it's snowing. You got to act like you're freezing. There's a town in the distance.
It's, so weird though. Like, I never, when I like try to remember a scene or remember
performing that moment, I never think of it in terms of like, oh, right, we were in this gray volume. I always had like this visual of every set that was actually supposed to be there. And I think of it in those terms.
But I think that's a unique skill that only some actors have.
Really?
And other actors without the set, without the costume, they can't get into it. They can't lose themselves the way like you and Troy and Ashley do.
When I did this audition, Troy was reading opposite me because he was doing all of the Abby auditions.
Sure, they'll be happy.
And
right.
he forgot all of the lines in this particular scene. And we were just like making stuff up. I remember thinking like, that went really well.
These scenes can be very tricky to write, but they're also a lot of fun where you're just given hints of this relationship. And obviously there's some kind of triangle here between Abby, Owen, and Mel. And Abby does a very poor job of hiding her feelings.
It's not just that, though.
Should I say congrats?
When everyone else sees this, they're going to want to turn back.
But it's just interesting that,
We can convince him.
you know, Owen, we're setting up here, he plays this moral conscience for this group. And even here, he's trying to give Abby a way out.
Count on you.
Abby, I want what you want. But not at any cost.
But not at any cost. So it's like there's a line here for justice that he's not willing to cross. And she hasn't found her line yet.
Well, it's also like selflessness versus selfishness, right? He now has, even with nothing else, he now has a baby he has to think about, right? Which is the same for Dina, which is the same for Jesse, which is the same for Joel. But she is only thinking about herself.
Well, one could argue she's also thinking about her father, that this is all coming out of love, the love she had for her dad, and the injustice that they all experienced in his brutal murder by Joel's hands.
Oh, there we go.
You think it's still good?
Does weed go bad?
Let's find out.
The infamous weed scene.
Are you going to talk about how we did this twice?
You
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we had a whole other version of the scene that was a little too
On the
earnest.
nose. Yeah.
And we rewrote it and recaptured it.
It's
How do
funny
you
you
mean by
described it
that?
as earnest because I felt that it was literally a fight until she's like, "Okay, I love you."
It also felt that fight was trumping some stuff that happens later in the theater once we're in Seattle. So this was like a moment to give them
What's wrong with you?
pure innocence before we go on this violent journey.
I remember, Neil, when you pitched the idea that like she throws the glass, and I was still to this day, I'm like, but what if you smoke glass? I
Yeah.
get
What if you
really
smoke
concerned.
glass?
It is true.
Yeah.
I mean, gonna be stuck here a while, right?
Kissing scenes in performance capture is really hard.
I feel like the hardest part about it was when we would have to do the ones where we would have to be standing apart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
then
that was really embarrassing.
we would just have to be like
Yeah,
with
because
ourselves.
we had one where it was just you standing there with your face turned to the side
Ugh,
and
I
just kind of
can't
kissing the air so we get the pure facial reference that isn't obscured by
And then
Shannon's
I was like,
big head.
why do you need the front of the face? The front of the face is being used.
Well, because they animate it from like all angles, even though you only see like one
Yeah.
side.
How would you?
I feel like if I had to do this with anybody else, it would have been even more uncomfortable. But because Shannon and I got so close, it was helpful to sort of, when we had to do those awkward sort of kissing moments and we weren't actually being able to connect with each other physically and feeling awkward and weird, we would still be holding on to each other. So it still felt
We were like minorly cuddling.
minorly cuddling. So you're like, well, at least there's like a little bit of something
Like
here.
intimacy. There was still
Yeah.
some form of intimacy that was like, all right, I still feel safe. I don't feel like I'm like flapping in the wind.
And you're in a brightly lit room
Very brightly
with
lit
a bunch
room.
of technical engineers like standing all around you.
Yeah. But we found ways around it to sort of still be able to, connect with each other and not feel so weird.
Oh, what? I mean, now I really want
I mean, what you're doing is, I think, pretty hard. You're trying to convey years of relationship with this other your best friend, and it all has
Yeah.
to come across like there's just so much history And yet there's this still awkward thing that hasn't been realized until this moment.
Have you met you?
You make me want to go back outside into that blizzard.
She's got to flick that joint really aggressively in a second.
Flicky.
Ellie's so cool here. Look at how cool she is.
This better be better than a 6.
Yeah.
The flicking always made me
It's
uncomfortable.
very
I was
aggressive.
like, what if it catches on
It's
fire?
a very dry space.
The one guy that saves her life is the one guy she wants to kill.
Well, I think it speaks to the nuance of atonement, right? It's like she ultimately will save 2 other kids in trouble. But is that enough? Does that make up for anything?
So we wanted to create a scenario for them where, again, and Tommy trying to do the right thing and create some trust between him and Abby, he inadvertently reveals who they are. And you could see right now, right there, like Abby has this reaction that only makes sense for players in hindsight, knowing who she is. But now her goals become different, not only to escape the Horde, but to get these 2 back to her people.
This is where we see Joel doing something that, for us who have spent so much time with him before, is preternatural to him. It's to trust someone is really, really hard, but he's choosing to do it. And the problem with choosing to trust people is you always, every time, open yourself to getting hurt. That's just such a Laura look.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like, boy, this is a bit of a pickle.
This is the Lethal Weapon 4 comparing scars.
I love it.
When I was 12.
Look at those arms.
Really jacked.
Dina's hot.
I tried to get on it.
So's Ellie. They're hot.
Yeah.
We're hot.
Yeah, we're hot.
I remember armpit hair being a large discussion.
Armpit hair with
the
Ashley
office.
Swadowski, who was our character art director.
Oh.
Yeah, and how much body hair should the girls have, and what are we okay with, and like let them be natural ladies.
I love it.
The chemical burn. I did it myself. Why?
It's on the tip of her tongue right there. That's a hard thing to say to somebody. Like, oh, I'm the only person that doesn't really get affected by this thing that's completely ruined the world.
Right here.
Now I'm trying to remember, does it make it in that I'm like, I told you something true? It does.
Yeah.
It does. This still happens here.
Yeah. Way to punch
This
her.
scene, because we did it twice, sometimes I'm like, I don't remember which, because both times we did like, it was like 5 hours.
Yeah, they were big days.
Ring of fucked up teeth marks and cysts and.
Ow! Fuck you.
What? Hey!
I told you a real fucking story.
I did tell you a real fucking story.
Oh, you want a bite mark?
Oh God!
Oh, here comes
this scene.
Steven. I remember how Shannon, how angry you were at Steven.
I wasn't angry at Steven. I couldn't tell why I was mad, and then this was the only real thing I actually fought for was this. Was to make him turn around. I was with you, and I was like, he needs to turn around, and you were like, why? And I was like, it took me a while to explain it to you, and then when he did it, then you were like, I get it. Because I was like, no, because I have to protect her.
Pretty sure that was in the script. but
No,
yeah,
it
you might
wasn't.
be
It
right.
was the only argument we had.
It's been 3 years. I don't remember.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
probably
It
right.
was I remember this.
It was the only thing I argued with you about. And it was because I felt so protective of Ashley that I knew it was right. That I was like, because we were so close, that I was like, turn around. She's naked. Like,
Yes,
you know,
because you guys knew each other intimately, but
Yeah.
Ellie and
exactly. And because I had to, like, I wanted to prove to you that I was loyal to you and not embarrassed because he was there.
But I love it. I feel like it shows so much about how strong Dina is and how loyal and sort of just, I don't know, I love that. I feel like that little moment says so much about Dina.
We really wanted to show or build trust between Joel and Tommy and this group to show that without their help, they might have died. Meaning Tommy and Joel would have died without this group. Another one where I think I'm like screaming out to all like the actors, okay, now they're burning. Now like there's a lot of fire. And you gotta speak up over the storm. Again, none of those elements are there.
Let's get inside!
And right now, only Abby knows what's about to go down. Everybody else thinks like, oh, we just found friendly people that helped us along. We captured this all as one go, from here all the way to the golf club hit. And initially we had versions of it where it was edited to be multiple cuts. And then it felt like it could just be way more tense if the whole thing was one shot. Required a lot of stitching of different performances and different elements, and some tweaking of stuff in animation, but yeah, I find that this scene has so much tension, the way it now moves.
We rehearsed it so many times before we shot it to make all the moving parts work.
From a directing side, that this can be hard as well because you're trying to pay attention to so many actors and making sure it's all feeling honest and authentic.
Y'all should come back with us, restock before you head out.
Appreciate it.
Again, there's no ambush here. They're all being authentic
This is my brother.
until this moment. And now everything has changed.
We knew this was going to be the most controversial scene in the whole game, and the intention is that it is brutal and it is hard to watch, which obviously as a player is really difficult to go through, but it puts you in alignment with Ellie. You're watching this devastation to this man that you've come to love as a character, and now you're watching him be brutally murdered. And it should be upsetting, it should hurt. A lot of people are still really upset about it, but what a faster way, I can't think of a faster way to help you understand why Ellie is gonna go as far as she's gonna go, because we're there seeing how this thing was stolen from her.
Yeah, this interplay of like, you want him to suffer, and he's not giving you the satisfaction of like, I don't care who you are, do your worst.
Mm-hmm.
And you try.
Yeah.
You try to do your worst.
Joel's not a man who begs.
That is a conversation I had with Troy about how prepared he was. He's lived for 20 years, 25 years at this point, of like just always accepting that this day might come. Something like this will happen because it always happens in this world.
Yeah, it's irrelevant to him who they are or why they're doing this, because there are so many people who could want to do this to him, given the life he's led.
I just remember shooting it and being like, this moment you've worked towards for so long and wanting it to feel right and wanting it to feel good. And it happens and you just feel fucking empty.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about it, Neil. Like, you had talked to me about this role and you told me about this character, Abby, and you told me what you were planning for her. And she had like a different story, I think, at the time, how they met and everything. But I was excited and terrified because, like, as a player, that's traumatizing. And I didn't know how people were going to react to it.
You don't get to rush this.
Yeah, we had versions of this sequence where Ellie came in after the fact. And it just felt, we needed her to see it to really set up this journey.
Yeah, this was rough. This was a rough day on set because I knew we were losing a character that we all love very deeply. You know, even the imaginary circumstances of that are just hard. It's also our, you know, all of our friendship, my friendship with Troy. So just seeing that and...
What I remember more than anything is, you know, we're going through the mechanics of it, and we're stupid suits on a sound stage, And there's all of these machinations and things that are keeping it goofy. But the one thing that cuts through the din of all that is when I look over at Ashley. Because being the great actor that you are, all of those things go away, and all you see is the moment that we're trying to create and the reality of what this scene is for you personally. And everything that I'm feeling, everything that I'm thinking is gone because I'm just watching. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to watch that scene without it bringing me to that place, ever. But the thing that has been proven to me is because of the way that I feel, because it's so hard, it is absolutely the most honest, perfect version of this story. There's no other version of this story. There just isn't.
And for this version of the scene, it was important that we were in Ellie's head, that you don't get to hear this conversation that's happening around her. But this was just about the ringing of the ears of pure hatred and anger that she's experiencing right now.
Oh my God. Ellie?
And just this final look right here where she sees him and I can't fix this. Well, she's going to try to find a way to fix it.
Yeah, she's gonna try to find a way to fix it in the best way she knows how.
I love this scene with you and Jeffrey. Brings you Tupperware with food.
Oh yes, this was one of my favorite scenes to shoot. I love working with Jeffrey.
You're so brilliant how it goes from this really sad, mournful place to just slowly rage over time as you're not getting what you want.
Also, this emptiness you have just from that look out the window there to like this, that like bereft, it's just really right on point. It's just so good.
Hey.
Hey.
Jeffrey here is quite brilliant. Is like
Yeah.
he wants to go after the people that hurt Joel. So there's like the emotional part of his mind and the rational part, and they're kind of in conflict here. And like he's trying to do what's best for Ellie, which is to say it's not worth it.
I also really love how the blocking of this scene worked out, because I love that neither of them can look at each other. They're not facing each other.
Maria wants to make sure you're eating.
Oh, and Jeffrey's voice. It's so she can't stop scrumptious.
To have the guys that we would need to do this smart, we'd be leaving Jackson vulnerable.
I love it. It's like the one time you look at him is to make him feel shame. Like, are you really saying this to me?
The only time that there's confidence there with her is when there's anger present.
What if we get hit by hunters again?
Is this you talking or is this her?
It's a valid point.
If it were you or me, Joel would be halfway to Seattle already.
Which is true.
Well, we had actually lines here where he counters that, and he says Joel never went after the people that killed his daughter. Like, because we really wanted to flesh out the point that like Joel is more pragmatic with his violence, where Ellie comes from a much more emotional place with it.
Why didn't you guys keep that in?
It just felt like we're just
too on the nose.
Too much exposition about the previous game. And we wanted more to stay in this moment. Like, there's other ways to talk about what Joel did in other spots, and really wanted to focus about.
And if you want to come with me, great.
The logistics of going after the people, going after Abby.
You have no idea what you're walking into. You don't know how large that group is.
I don't care.
I don't care. You can't talk me out of this.
Again, this moment of decision where he's like, in order to protect her, I'm going to have to go by myself. And he's like, now he's lying again. Not dissimilar to Joel lying to Ellie to protect her.
Give me a day.
right? That gave me a day's bullshit.
Okay. There's got to be some folks you can spare.
Why the
And if she
choice
won't
of the
budge?
hairpiece coming down? The little hair string for Tommy.
There's a little bit of design. Like Abby has something similar as well. So it's like there's what animators call secondary movement. So as when he's moving around, there's like physics on the hair. And just one more way to bring the CG character to life.
Yeah.
It's also such a flex because it really
So
doesn't
hard.
look good in other games. Like it's
Yeah.
just like it looks amazing, and it's like it feels it's just like such a subtle flex. Like look what we can do.
Yeah.
I love this hug that then it's just too painful for the two of them. They can't stay in that moment.
That's too uncomfortable to be vulnerable. Got too much shit to do.
There's something about, you know, when it doesn't feel real until you're at his grave. Like there's a part of you, maybe because you play a bunch, like you play video games, you watch a lot of popular movies, you keep thinking he's going to come back somehow. And then it's like, no, there's his name on that gravestone. And then the famous Gustavo All Gone, another version of that theme.
It was hard. It was hard. Joel is a character that I love. And I wasn't ready to let him go. So seeing that, even experiencing that of seeing, you know, oh, we're doing a scene where we're at the gravestone is very final. I love it. I love that Dina was there the whole time and we didn't know that yet. Not looking on, just sort of giving Ellie her moment.
I remember when we were doing that, I really did feel like I was like really trying not to listen to you.
I felt that too.
You did?
Yeah. It's like I'm right here if you need me, but
It's
I'm
like,
not
but
listening.
I'm not listening. You know, you have your privacy, but if you need me, I'm here.
This is Ashley Scott as Maria realizing what Tommy has done.
Maria, I'm headed to Seattle. I wish I could let it go, but I can't. I have to bring these people to justice. Ellie's gonna try to come after me, but stop her. Take her guns, lock up the horses, maybe lock her up. Buy me some time so I can end this. Love you always, Tommy. He's gonna get himself killed.
He should have taken me with him.
I like that she hasn't thought at all about what she's just going. She doesn't even know what she's doing, what she's gathering.
Zero plan.
And Maria knows this, right? Maria knows her, like a parent of sorts, and to say, okay, well, if you're gonna do this, here's some stuff.
You going with her?
Yeah.
Damn right she is.
Ride or die.
Sneak out of here.
I love that those little moments with Dina where you see the snarky bits.
And it's funny because like this whole section here, I constantly felt like anytime we were dealing with Joel or anything about Jackson there, I was like, oh, this is none of my business. You know, like it felt like I shouldn't be there. And even in that scene there too, it was like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm going with her and I'm here to be with her, but all of this stuff predates me. So all I could do were kind of these little things that were almost like for your benefit to like kind of support you or be like, I saw that was a lot. Are you
You're
okay?
like, oh,
you
boy,
know?
she's a lot. Yeah.
Do me a favor.
It's that weird feeling of letting someone that's grieving have their space, but offering yourself to help them in any way you can.
Of course.
All right. Get going. You're losing light.
I really remember the end of this scene and this look that I give you. Like, well, that was a lot. I think, yeah, here it is right here. Yeah, there it is. I was like, like, oof, this is like a lot. Today
It's
is
also
a lot.
that could have gone way worse.
Yeah,
And-
yeah,
and-
and here it's still there. I'm like, all right.
This
we're
shot
gonna
right
go.
here with the light coming through Ellie's ear is just so gorgeous.
This hunter was on top of him, drowning him. And
Joel couldn't get to his gun.
Jeez. Were you scared?
Well, I didn't even think. I just...
Hey, Hallie, do you want to talk about how we managed to get the
Oh,
right
sure.
to this beautiful song?
Sure. We were looking for a song, and my bestie is a spectacular woman named Lauren Savoy, whose husband is Paul Wakhtar Savoy, who is a member of the band Aha. And so I reached out and said, would it be possible to get this dope-ass song in the game? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. That's amazing. That's great. So it was just a lucky happenstance that we were able to pull it off. But it's great because now like two of my favorite things are combined forever.
It's also cool how these things are such collaborations where that's obviously Ashley singing, but that's Ashley's friend Chris playing guitar, and we mocapped his hand and then transposed that onto Ellie's body.
I loved this game mechanic. So fun.
This is my favorite missable moment in the whole game. The fact that this is optional, I think.
Remember how much we talked about the fact, because like so many people love this, and we're like, and then there were people on the team that argue that you should not be able to miss this, but it makes it more special knowing that you might have missed it.
You gotta earn me staring at you for several minutes.
Such a good cover too. I mean, I wouldn't say it to Ashley's face, don't look over here, but like, it's pretty solid.
Needless to say, I'm odds and ends.
When I see Dina's looks over here, my interpretation is that she's remembered all the times that she was falling in love for Ellie in the past when she was with Jesse. Because right, they're talking about this has happened before, and she played this song. And the other character moment that's interesting here is like the song she originally played here when she picks up the guitar is Future Days, is what Joel teaches her. And as soon as Dina walks through the door, she stops playing that song because she doesn't want to talk about that.
This is actually, I think, canonically the first time you will have seen Ellie successfully play guitar since the opening scene where Joel says he's going to teach her.
Yeah.
So this is the first moment that we realize like that he really did teach her. So it also represents not just like her relationship with Dina, but...
Oh, you're right. It's every time she's picking up a guitar, there's a connection to Joel. Every single time. And we were like, when we were making this, we kept talking about what are different ways we could remind you of Joel, because he's not there.
Make him a ghost.
But he's present. There were versions where we talked about having
Ghost
like
Joel. We
Ghost
had
Joel like
early
go talk to Ellie, and it just felt a little too campy for this story.
I wanted to.
Me too.
All right. We should keep moving.
Yeah.
Oh, the Tommy
Oh.
torture scene. So we got to see Joel do this scene in the first game of interrogating two people. And now we get to see like the aftermath of having this interrogation done by Tommy.
What happened here?
Just shows you what he's capable of.
Tommy did this.
And then later we get to see Ellie try to do this.
Right, and at this point for Dina, she doesn't really know about Tommy's past. She doesn't know that she doesn't have the privileged information that Tommy used to be as bad as Joel, and she's just really sort of seeing that for the first time.
Because she knows, like, the reformed Tommy that lives in
Right.
Jackson, that helps everybody.
Shit.
Right.
There's another one over here.
Yeah, I remember we iterated a lot on the lighting of this room and trying to give it the right vibe, that it wasn't too bright or too dark.
I don't recognize him.
And that's really important. I don't recognize him. That shows Tommy killed someone that wasn't involved in Joel's death. That there's already starting to be this cost of whether this person is innocent or not, is who knows.
No, he wasn't. You ask this guy a question, but you don't make him say it. You make him write it down. And then you ask this guy.
This is the worst board game ever. No, one of the things that really like rocks me about some of these scenes is also just how comfortable they are around death all the time.
Yeah.
It implies her understanding this kind of anger and grief as well, that like Ellie really is not okay and she's losing because other people are going through this all the time. And so like it's those little things like that that really like moved me when I was actually playing the game. I was like, God, this is fucked up. Like
And right around this area is where we have Dina mention her sister and how she was never able to avenge whatever happened to her sister. So she has this unfulfilled thing, and she knows how traumatic that can be, and she doesn't want that for Ellie. So this is the first contact with the people that killed Joel.
He's great.
Yeah.
Chase Austin is great.
And fun fact, Chase played young Sam Drake in Uncharted 4.
How'd you find us?
So ballsy.
Big scar across his face.
It's funny. How many came with you? Just you two?
I think that's what Ellie really believes, that no matter what, they're gonna get what's due. Like there's like some cosmic karma thing going on.
I feel like she has to.
Or she's just bullshitting him to make him believe that there's more people coming.
Yeah. This girl was there.
So that guy is being played by Ruben Langdon, who played James in part 1. His face, though, is the scan of Mike Hatfield, our lead foreground artist.
Kill all trespassers. Oh, hold up. That doesn't make any sense.
Direct order, man.
No, let's talk to her. Let's figure out what she knows.
I don't give a fuck what she knows. You saw what she did to the others?
You have no idea.
Deep in the background, Dina.
I don't care how many people she's with. We will find them and we will kill them.
Can you just think for yourself for a quick
Jordan,
second
get the
right
fuck
now?
out of my way.
Jesus. Come here.
Dina! This is the first time Dina realizes that she's like really not okay. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I love because
It's the hints of the obsession. Of
Yeah.
like she's losing herself to this chase instead of what's actually happening right now.
And really, really to their detriment.
And it was important when we were writing this scene to have the death be relatively quick. And then you can't even linger and think about it. And again, this just kind of push forward of like, maybe the next one will be more satisfying. Or maybe the one after that will be more satisfying.
Fucking no. Come on. Fuck, Ellie.
The first kind of like draft we have of all Seattle is Sucker Punch Games made infamous Second Son, which takes place in Seattle. So they gave us a 3D model of all of Seattle as a starting point. And then we just spend a lot of time just like mapping out the entire story and where like Ellie and Abby go. So we have this very intricate map of all the location. And based off of that, we said, okay, now we need a map that they could point to in the cinematic to get us to the TV station as the next location.
I remember one of my first meetings, or one of my early meetings at Naughty Dog was with M, and who's a lead designer at Naughty Dog, and she had spent a lot of time figuring out how Seattle would be flooded in the future. So a lot of the actual flooding you see is semi-accurate to how it would happen if there was that much water happening.
M was the one that pitched Seattle initially.
Oh, really?
Because she felt that it had the most kind of unique locations that we could move through and had a lot of verticality within the city.
Let's go get Leah. Hey, look.
This is the foreshadowing I'm pregnant scene.
This is my least favorite part of my performance. I'm not kidding. Nauseous performance. It really, every time I see it, I'm just like, that's not good.
Is that your Achilles heel?
Oh, there's a lot. Hiding behind walls and, no.
You could hear the puke splashing on the ground.
I did hear that. They helped me there.
And that, again, it's another one of those things where, like, the audio department, let me listen to, like, several versions of puke hitting the ground and picking one.
Ew. I always feel like whenever I have to act like I'm throwing up, I always start dry heaving. Because once you get that, then you're like...
Like a cat with a fur ball?
Yeah.
Here's my big moment.
This is your big performance.
Here she is.
Do you say that because that body's much taller than Hallie?
Everything is.
Those people listening, Hallie's a tiny, tiny, tiny little person.
Really portable.
Yeah, these scenes are really hard to write, because again, we're trying to make it a character moment, but give you enough information to go forward in the clue chain towards finding who you need.
And giving you, new information so it doesn't feel repetitive, right? We're opening up the world progressively with each sort of expository beat as well.
There's this really nice beat at the end here where, like, Dina calms Ellie down and takes the pictures from her.
It's all of them.
It's really nuanced here what you're doing, Ashley, but there's just this, like, anger that's starting to bubble up as you look at this stuff and, like, look at their fucking smiles. There it is.
Just looking so happy.
There she is.
That's her.
Laura Bailey.
That's the one who killed him.
And that's the Last of Us 2 theme, which is like a reverse version of the Last of Us 1 theme that Gustavo created for this.
Hey there, Tiger.
Yeah.
Okay,
you can see
Tiger.
it.
How you, it's, yeah.
Support Unit India en route to the TV station. Repeat, support Unit India en route.
Yeah, we should get going.
Is that you, Hallie? That voice?
I was just wondering that myself.
Because
I'm like,
it is you later. I think that might have been you.
Oh,
Here.
this is
This
the
is
mask
scene.
break.
I remember just fighting. I was like, I just have to make sure her hands never touch the mask.
I remember talking to you about this, Neil. Like, you were like, it's like she's committing suicide in front of you. Is like what it is.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You
As
know,
far as you know, she is.
Yeah, and so that's where that reaction came from. He was like, she's killing herself in front of you, is what it looks like to you.
There it is. The I'm immune, I'm pregnant scene.
Got it.
Yeah, it's just this is where the obsession. I think this is the first time it's really getting in between them. That there's now personal conflict starting to form.
Yeah, there's a real standoff towards the end of this scene too.
Hallie, do you remember this was your first week at Naughty Dog, and we had an outline. Some of the major beats were there, and you had the idea of like, what if we made Dina pregnant?
Yeah, because we were I think it was on my first day. And the problem we were trying to solve was we want these two girls to go to Seattle together. We want to have Ellie to have this conduit to talk about her feelings and maybe this thing to pull her back. But how do we how can we narratively hold Dina back so that Ellie can do a bunch of these missions alone? Because so much of this is about the singularity of the obsession and the loneliness of that and how hard it is to be alone in this world. And I just threw it out there. Let's knock her up.
It's interesting too with if you think about the first game, over the course of the journey with Joel and Ellie, is they slowly open up more to each other and reveal more of their secrets. And these characters are kind of doing the same thing. They're both holding back on secrets. So even though it's a very angry scene, they're revealing everything to each other. You were telling the truth.
Yeah, bitch.
Joel are the only ones who know.
I'll just speak the subtext for all these scenes.
Please do.
New.
I found this scene really hard because it was one of the. I mean, we literally. You have two very like big reveals or reactions that could have been like really soapy if I did it wrong. You know, it's like the I'm pregnant and also like the chemical burn. You know, like that. That's really tough.
Well, it's
and
like because I remember we talked a lot about that, which is. You just thought your friend was going to die in front of you. You thought you might have to shoot them in front of you.
Yeah, it really opens with her being
So you have this
like,
moment of like
yeah.
sadness, relief, and also, by the way, I'm pregnant.
A lot of the times when Ellie's in severe conflict, she like, one of the things that I find very relatable is like suddenly she loses eye contact. Like it just goes inward. Everything just goes into this inward rage that is so nuanced, and I don't know how you could really pull this off in a game a decade ago maybe, because there's so much beautiful facial that you do that they're able to capture.
Yeah, I feel like I talk about this all the time. Like this game, I don't think would have had the impact or any of that without. I mean, there's so many people that make up the performance that you end up seeing and playing, and I feel like you can give it your all, but if you don't have the right people that are sitting there for, I don't know how, I mean, years and years.
It's sculptors.
Yeah.
It's animators. It's lighting artists. Even if you don't get the right lighting, the performance doesn't come through.
Right.
And all that stuff just takes a lot of effort and iteration, like so much iteration to get it right, and to try to, that moment we felt on the stage, to draw it out in a CG character is a lot of work.
So much work to really nail the anxious avoidant attachment style. It's gorgeous. It's like we all understand, you know?
The way she handled it, it's like almost like a religious artifact or something. That there's like, it's like a medium, it's like a connection to Joel.
Yeah.
Well, it is, right? Because we tie it to every flashback.
Yeah, I love that the attachment to Joel is through music. It's funny, over the course of shooting this, how long did it take to shoot? Just
like 3 years.
Yeah, like 3 years.
Well, actually, we shot the trailer where you play guitar before we even made Uncharted 4. Because we had started working on this game, and then the game went on pause for 2 years before we picked it back up. Hey, look, Ellie's learning.
Hey.
One of the things I really appreciate about your performance, Ashley, is how you're able to so seamlessly jump between these different ages and different levels of innocence that this character has.
Thanks.
Just need to build up your calluses.
I also now watch this. I'm like, that guitar is so expensive. Why are you just leaving it right
Just leaving it out there?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
show how did Ellie learn how to swim? Because that was such a big plot point in the first game.
Yep.
It's just nice to see things were okay for a while between these two.
I remember feeling, this is a good thing to be back into. Like we're jumping into summer. We're jumping into, like you said, when things were good.
This is a culmination of so many things, right? So for this moment of just Ellie's love of space, of Joel wanting to make this like moment just beautiful for her Walkman. And this idea that Ellie sometimes has such a strong imagination and can go into her own head. Wow. Actually started with the comic book, the American Dreams comic book. So when she looked at the Raj's arcade, she was able to picture it with like children running around. It's like the idea that she's so in love with the old world that she does whatever she can to kind of live in it.
Happy birthday, kiddo.
And that's we got the idea to really go in her head and make you feel as if she's traveling to space.
Take it.
There is such a unique nervousness, anticipation, and joy that comes with a parent trying to give their kid the perfect gift.
Right. And if they like it, it's the best feeling in the world.
And if they don't, it's terrible.
It'll be worth it.
Close your eyes.
And for people familiar with the first game, the DLC of Left Behind, there's a big parallel here for when Riley tells Ellie, close your eyes. And she makes her picture this arcade game. And it's like as if these two people just know Ellie so well of what would make the perfect gift for her.
15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4.
And again, our lighting team did such an awesome, because there's so much that needs to be conveyed here with just lighting. And so they're animating these lights and then changing the reflection on the glass. There's a lot of tech here, a lot of careful crafting to get this moment.
I also love that we're just with Ellie in this moment, you know?
It's like you just need Gustavo to do this little riff.
That's it.
And it takes it over the top.
Oh, the scene is so beautiful but so sad to me. Just because I know what's coming. And just seeing Joel trying so hard to reconnect and regrow this relationship with Ellie again. You can see his guilt. You can feel at least shame. It's like, but yeah, I watch it and I think it's such a beautiful scene, but there's that level underneath it that's heartbreaking to me.
It was really important for us to have these happy memories that are obviously mixed with like some negative feelings she has about Joel and the choices that he's made. But ultimately, I believe the positive, the happy memories overwhelm the negative.
Yeah. Well, I think Ellie is so driven by her own shame and guilt, and you need to know why. And it's because there was something worth saving. There was a true loss here. And part of that is her own decision to emotionally protect herself by distancing herself from Joel. But it had a cost.
And no matter how happy a sequence we have, it's just this lie and this choice that Joel made is hanging over these characters. As a reminder for Ellie is like, you can't fully let this thing go. Awkward.
Well, let's get a move on.
I really don't want to talk about this right now.
It's always so exciting to see, because obviously when we're shooting this, we're on a soundstage and I picture us being there, but it's always so much better when I finally see it in the game. It's always such a better version of it than I had in my mind.
More puking. This is you could really hear the puke
Yeah,
splashing.
this one this one I feel more comfortable with.
Hey. How hot do I look right now?
Be me to be fixing some kind of computer and,
mean,
and
this
then puking in the middle.
really proves how much Ellie loves Dina, because going up to someone that just puked and getting close to them, that's a lot.
I mean, to be fair, she did stay up all night tracking the radio stuff.
I know, but she also puked.
Like, listen, if I had to date one, I think Dina.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
I would steer clear of Ellie.
Maybe Tommy got to him. Maybe. What about her?
There's this moment again. We don't. Ellie doesn't. There's a moment where she looks to Dina and then she realizes like how much Dina's been doing.
The numbers.
You could see the appreciation in her face.
The TV station.
I remember this because I felt so bad. Because the way you were just playing it, you were just so sick, but you were like, I feel like I need to pull my weight. Since I had called you a burden, and I felt like such a piece of shit.
This move right here of like scooting in and this back rub thing is such an Ashley move.
Well, it's also because we couldn't get too close because then we'd stick together.
We'd
Otherwise, she
stick.
would have held me.
Yeah.
Last night was stupid.
Casualties reported in 14. All available units report. Over. This is Site 13. Unit Lima nearby. How many scars you got? Over. Negative on scars. Lone male trespasser. Armed.
Lone male
Over.
trespasser.
And then this was again. We wanted to leave Dina behind because we wanted this Ellie by herself, just these really lonely pursuits, and it was. I felt like it was really hard to justify how we're gonna pull it off. But I felt like this scene does a good job of. It shows. Dina tries. No matter, like even if she feels like shit, she wants to be there to help Ellie.
Okay.
In The Last of Us, there's a lot of totems that come to represent certain people, whether it's Joel's watch, Ellie's switchblade, the guitar that's shared between Ellie and Joel. And now it becomes this bracelet that Dina gives Ellie as a good luck charm. It's like this khamsa, which is a very Middle Eastern thing that was very much in my family. Yeah, I love that. I love that she gives it to her for.
Wait.
It will keep her safe. It's a hamsa and an evil eye within it.
It's for good luck. I don't believe in luck.
Did we ever establish how Dina got that? Whether that was from her sister?
I think it was from her sister, but
Yeah, that's what's in my mind, but I don't know if we ever explicitly say that. There's a lot of like foreshadowing here too, of like the
Yeah.
splitting up, and then later the splitting up at the farm. Oh, this is the scene that everybody hates us for.
The great mislead.
The great mislead. Yep.
I guess maybe we should talk about that. When we released that first trailer for the game, a lot of people guessed that Joel was dead. And we were worried that after that point, it'll be too obvious. So how can we throw them off the scent? And that's when we came up with the idea of swapping Joel and Jesse here, which I have mixed feelings about in hindsight. It got people excited about something that wasn't there. And, our motivation was in the right place of trying to protect the story, but didn't maybe think it through of how it might upset some people.
I remember when that trailer came out, then everybody I knew assumed that then it meant I was going to die.
Right.
And
which then we just leaned into with other trailers.
Yeah. And everybody was like texting me being like, oh my God, you die. Like, and they were like, it's so embarrassing for you. I was like, what? Wait, I can't say anything. And I was just like, lol. LOL. Haha. Meanwhile, I think when the trailer came out, we were in the studio that day. We were doing VO, and so we were like watching all the, and I was like,
yeah.
Uh-oh.
I also like that we get to establish, Jesse's in charge, but we never get to see why. Why is this guy so good at what he does? And now we get to see it and get to experience it in gameplay.
You ready?
And then The Last of Us, unlike Uncharted, we don't rely as much on set pieces, especially big stuff like this, but this was such a climactic level that we called Rescue Jesse, that we wanted this climactic driving sequence where they crash in the water. And then there was a lot of debate of like design-wise, do we want to walk all the way back to the theater? So decided against it. So this was just to set the tone that Ellie and Jesse got away. They are not being actively chased. And this is just a little trick that we do is pull the camera away from them, and then that will allow us to cut to where we need to place them. Also an interesting dynamic that we talked a lot about, this triangle between Ellie, Jesse, and Dina. And the thing we really didn't want to do is any sort of jealousy about, are Dina and Jesse going to get back together? Like it was never about that.
Oh my God.
But it was just more Ellie feels isolated.
You okay?
And in some ways, I'm curious to hear what you think, Ashley, but I think she kind of wants to be. She doesn't want to be part of this reunion, and she just wants to dwell on what's next.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel like I was trying to play it, because I can relate to that when you're like going through something and you're like, I don't want to go through this with anybody else because it's going to be dark. So I'm just going to do it myself.
I heard you're sick.
That sequence takes us to one of the flashbacks. There's a whole history with Joel and how Ellie feels about Joel and what Joel did in the hospital, and she doesn't let Dina into any of that. This is just their own personal thing that she's carrying, and she's still wrestling with that after his death.
Ellie is very not great at talking about her feelings, which I think is why she's on this mission, because she's not using her words.
That's very much a parallel to the first game where after the David sequence and Ellie's lost in thought, and then it's like Joel saying, Ellie. I think Ellie has like some OCD thing where she gets fixated on things and just shuts the world out. I love how funny Jeffrey is in this scene.
Mm-hmm. He's such a yenta.
Yeah.
Y'all shooting up there, right?
Oh, just some stragglers. Ellie got to try out my scope.
This was a fun scene.
How'd you like it?
Yeah, feels good.
The two adults don't really understand what's going on, which is Ellie is like this resentment or this curiosity, whatever it is about what Joel did is growing. And this thing that she thought she could let go, she can't. And they just attribute it to like, oh, teenager. She's being a teenager.
Well, there's that music store down there. I bet they got guitar stuff.
Maybe you should just take him out for an ice cream. Maybe you guys should just hang out.
I love how he did that lane, and I love the tapping of his foot under the table.
What do you say, kiddo?
Yeah, sure, Joel, whatever.
He's so excited.
And that's our cue.
He's like, I did my job. Yeah, the engineering of this scene, it was important to show that the constant cost of having not made a cure.
Okay.
And here we have these two runaways from Jackson that have succumbed to the infection. And one more reminder for Ellie that things could have been different.
Thanks.
Yeah. But she wouldn't be here.
We're also ignoring one of my favorite exchanges in the whole game, which is realizing that Joel does not know that Ellie is gay at this point, which comes right before this.
Oh my God, that's right.
Where he just assumes there's something going on between her and Jesse, and she's like, she's like, sure, for sure, totally.
Yeah.
It's like he sees her, but there's like a little bit of he can't quite fully see the full her.
Jackson is a wonderful place, but we got tired of hearing the stories of people suffering everywhere else.
These are some of the hardest scenes to do, where there's just a lot of exposition and making it seem natural, like as if she's reading this note for the first time and reacting to it. And again, you two did just such a fantastic job of I always feel like I'm just watching these characters.
Love Adam and Sydney.
I love the lighting here. Just the way it's framed and silhouetted. It's so
Into
simple.
the wood planks, so pretty.
Only they were immune, right?
That look, it's like she's trying to egg you on to start this conversation.
Let's go get Tommy and we can get these bodies back to Jackson.
No. Let's talk about this right now.
After you took me out of the Firefly Hospital, you said there were dozens of people like me.
This is the moment he's been dreading, right? Being confronted head on again with this lie.
Yeah, that's what they told me.
I've never met another immune person before. Have you?
Small details, like we had to do different versions of the tattoo. You could see she's got it outlined. It's not filled in yet at this stage.
Do you believe that?
There's something about a child confronting their parent, this standing in their power, and how trepidatious, even though like she has the conviction of her argument, right? But just how it still is a thing to stand up to your parent and see me as an adult.
Why did you pull me out of there while I was still
What he's doing here is kind of fucked up, though, because he gaslights her. He's saying is like, you're bringing this up now next to these bodies, and he's making her feel shame for having just brought up this topic.
Right.
Maybe if you just would have given them more time, they could have figured something out.
There was no cure.
That is what I've been telling myself.
There's nothing that could help these people or anybody else.
Like, how many times have I told myself this? Like, if she ever asks, this is what I will tell her.
Yeah.
I know you wish things were different. I wish things were different. But they ain't.
And he just shuts it down.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's such great performance with very little dialogue, but you could see how it's just breaking her heart because she doesn't believe any of this.
No.
Is there something else you'd like to rehash?
No, because you'll just lie about it.
Yeah, that to me is the greatest sin.
And the way you're delivering that no, it's like there's a challenge to him. Like, okay, if that's what you want to say, then we'll go with that.
Yeah, because it's just like, no, I don't want to rehash anything else because you're just not going to tell the fucking truth again.